A quiet question in space: why Bennu was chosen. The story begins not with excitement, but with patience, with scientists sitting quietly beside long tables of data, asking gentle questions about small worlds that drift through the dark. Bennu was not loud or dramatic at first glance. It was modest, carbon-rich, ancient, and calm in its orbit. Its path brought it close enough to Earth to be reachable, and distant enough to remain untouched. It carried the promise of time itself, preserved in stone. In this opening moment, nothing rushes. The choice of Bennu was careful, deliberate, like choosing a book to read before sleep, one whose pages had waited billions of years to be opened slowly. Long before any spacecraft moved, astronomers observed Bennu through telescopes, watching its light curve rise and fall as it turned gently in space. These observations revealed its spinning top shape, hinting at loose material gathered rather than solid stone. That looseness mattered, because it suggested Bennu could be a time capsule, holding fragile grains from the early solar system. As calculations unfolded, scientists realized Bennu's orbit was stable enough to study and primitive enough to trust. Nothing about this decision was hurried. It was made with calm certainty, the kind that comes from listening carefully to the universe rather than trying to command it. As the idea settled, the mission formed like a quiet breath. OSIRIS-REx would go, not to conquer or drill, but to touch gently and return. Bennu was chosen because it had remained mostly unchanged since planets were forming, its surface shaped more by silence than by violence. In this stillness, researchers hoped to find clues about how water and organic materials arrived on Earth. The reasoning flowed slowly, one fact resting on another, until the answer felt inevitable, as though Bennu itself had been waiting to be asked. The launch did not break this mood. Even as rockets thundered, the purpose remained soft and steady. Years of travel followed, long arcs through space where nothing dramatic happened, only motion and trust. During this time, Bennu continued its quiet spin, unaware of the attention it was drawing. This distance, this patience, is part of the story's rhythm, reminding the listener that discovery often happens far from urgency, in long stretches of calm anticipation. When OSIRIS-REx finally arrived, the spacecraft did not rush forward. It watched, circled, mapped, and listened. Bennu revealed itself slowly, its surface darker than expected, scattered with rocks, breathing out tiny particles into space. These observations already felt strange, yet they unfolded gently, as if the asteroid were whispering rather than shouting. Each orbit added detail, building understanding grain by grain, without disturbance. The mapping phase lasted months, not days, because accuracy mattered more than speed. Scientists wanted to know where to touch without harm. Bennu's surface was rougher than predicted, full of boulders that looked like resting animals under starlight. The calm persistence of observation continued, allowing understanding to deepen naturally. Nothing forced the moment, everything waited for readiness. As data accumulated, a subtle sense of anticipation grew. Instruments detected hydrated minerals, signs that water had once interacted with the rock. This did not come as a shock, but as a quiet confirmation, fitting neatly into existing theories. Bennu was behaving exactly as a patient teacher would, revealing information only when approached with care. The sample site selection became another slow chapter. Dozens of locations were considered, compared, and recompared. Each had its own story written in texture and temperature. Eventually, a place was chosen not for drama, but for safety and richness. It felt like choosing the softest pillow in a dark room, guided by touch rather than sight. The sampling maneuver itself was brief, almost delicate. A momentary contact, a gentle puff of gas, and grains of Bennu lifted into the collector. Then OSIRIS-REx backed away, leaving the surface nearly as it had found it. There was no explosion, no struggle, just a quiet exchange, respectful and complete. As the spacecraft began its return journey, the samples rested inside, protected and undisturbed. Years passed again, filled with silent travel. This long return added to the dreamlike quality of the mission, reinforcing that true understanding often requires time that feels expansive and unhurried. When the capsule finally returned to Earth, it landed softly, ending its journey without spectacle. Inside were pieces of Bennu, unchanged since before planets formed. Scientists approached them slowly, carefully, knowing that rushing could destroy fragile truths. The atmosphere remained one of reverence rather than triumph. Initial analysis revealed something quietly astonishing. Bennu contained a rich mix of carbon compounds, hydrated minerals, and complex chemistry. Nothing glowed or pulsed, yet everything mattered. These substances suggested that asteroids like Bennu may have delivered key ingredients for life to early Earth. The discovery did not shout, it settled gently into scientific understanding. Among the materials were phosphates and organic molecules, arranged in ways that felt familiar yet ancient. These findings were not alien curiosities, but reminders of shared origins. The strange substance was not strange because it was unknown, but because it was so old and so well preserved, like a memory untouched by time. As laboratories continued their careful work, each grain was treated like a sleeping thing, handled slowly, respectfully. Instruments listened more than they spoke, measuring without haste. This phase stretched on, reinforcing that discovery is not an event, but a process that unfolds softly over years. The meaning of Bennu's materials expanded gradually. They told a story of water moving through rock, of chemical reactions happening in darkness, of complexity forming without life yet hinting toward it. This narrative fit together calmly, piece by piece, without contradiction or urgency. Scientists shared their findings carefully, choosing precise words rather than dramatic ones. The language itself felt hushed, as if speaking too loudly might disturb the ancient story contained in the dust. Every announcement emphasized patience, context, and continuity with what was already known. As public understanding grew, the story of Bennu became less about mystery and more about connection. The asteroid was no longer distant, it was related. Its substances mirrored those found on Earth, linking sky and ground in a slow, reassuring way. This connection softened the idea of space itself. Instead of a cold void, it became a place of shared history, where small bodies carry memories forward. Bennu was not an intruder, but a messenger, arriving quietly with information rather than warning. The mission's success reinforced a gentle truth: careful questions yield meaningful answers. Bennu gave what it had because it was approached without force. This lesson lingered beyond the data, influencing how future missions would be planned and imagined. In the end, the story does not close sharply. Bennu continues its orbit, unchanged by the brief visit, while its samples rest on Earth, still being studied. The knowledge gained does not demand attention, it waits, ready to be understood more deeply. Over time. And so the narrative settles into calm completeness. A small asteroid, chosen thoughtfully, touched gently, and listened to patiently, has shared its quiet story. Nothing rushes now. The universe remains vast and slow, and within it, understanding drifts gently, like dust in sunlight, inviting rest. A gentle journey begins. Osiris-Rex leaves Earth. The moment does not feel sharp or sudden, even though fire lifts metal into the sky. The departure from Earth is described best as a careful exhale, years of planning released slowly into motion. Osiris-Rex rises not in anger or conquest, but in quiet intention, carrying questions rather than demands. Below, Earth turns calmly, unaware of the small messenger leaving its grasp. Above, space waits without pressure. This beginning is soft, deliberate, and unhurried, as if the mission itself understands that haste has no place among ancient stones and long memories. As the spacecraft slips beyond the familiar blue, it enters a stretch of time where days blend gently together. There is no scenery rushing past, only steady movement guided by mathematics and trust. Instruments awaken one by one, checking their senses, listening to the silence around them. Every system confirms readiness, not with excitement, but with reassurance. This phase is less about traveling fast and more about settling into a rhythm, the kind that allows complex journeys to unfold without strain. Earth slowly becomes a pale dot, then something even quieter, a remembered glow. Communication continues, signals moving back and forth like slow breaths across millions of kilometers. Nothing dramatic interrupts the cruise. There are no sudden turns, only gradual adjustments. This calm stretch is essential, giving the mission space to exist without constant correction. In this stillness, OSIRIS-RX becomes less a machine and more a patient observer, drifting through a vast, untroubled ocean of dark. The journey forward is shaped by gravity rather than force. Earth's pull releases the spacecraft gently, and later, other celestial bodies will guide it further along. This reliance on natural motion feels almost poetic, a reminder that even advanced technology works best when it cooperates with the universe instead of pushing against it. The path is long, but it is efficient, shaped by understanding rather than urgency. During these early months, engineers and scientists watch quietly from afar. Data arrives in steady streams, confirming that everything remains as expected. There is comfort in this normalcy, in the absence of surprises. Each successful check reinforces confidence, allowing attention to soften rather than sharpen. The mission becomes something that breathes on its own, sustained by careful design and patient oversight. The spacecraft's instruments rest for now, protected and waiting. Cameras, spectrometers, and collectors are silent, conserving energy and purpose. This waiting is not emptiness, it is preparation. Just as a listener grows more attentive in silence, OSIRIS-RX becomes more ready by not acting too soon. The journey itself is part of the science, teaching endurance and restraint. Time stretches differently in space. Days pass without sunrise or sunset, marked only by internal clocks and distant signals. This timelessness deepens the soothing quality of the voyage. There is nothing to chase, nothing to escape. The spacecraft exists fully in the present moment, moving forward because it was designed to do so, not because it must arrive quickly. Occasionally, small maneuvers occur, gentle adjustments barely noticeable against the vastness. These are precise and minimal, guided by careful calculations done long before launch. Each correction is a reminder that even calm journeys require attention, but never panic. Everything unfolds as planned, reinforcing the trust placed in preparation. As OSIRIS-RX continues outward, it carries human curiosity far from human noise. No voices travel with it, only encoded signals and quiet intention. In this separation, the mission becomes something almost meditative, existing beyond daily concerns and immediate outcomes. Its purpose remains clear, but its pace remains slow. The silence of space does not feel empty here, it feels supportive. Without air or sound, there is no distraction. Motion becomes smooth, uninterrupted. This environment allows the mission's long-term goals to settle deeply into its path, free from interference. Engineers sometimes describe this phase as uneventful, yet it is precisely this uneventfulness that makes it successful. Stability allows trust, and trust allows patience. Nothing demands attention, so attention can remain gentle. The journey continues without disturbance, carrying its quiet promise forward. As months pass, the spacecraft's trajectory brings it into positions that will later matter greatly. These alignments are subtle now, invisible to casual thought, but crucial to what lies ahead. Even here, nothing rushes. Each position is reached naturally, like stepping stones across a calm river. Communication delays grow longer as distance increases. Signals take minutes to arrive, then longer still. This delay encourages careful planning and thoughtful action. Commands are sent only when necessary, each one measured and complete. The mission learns to exist independently, guided but not controlled. The sun remains a constant presence, providing energy and orientation. Its light falls evenly on the spacecraft, neither harsh nor weak. This steady illumination reinforces the sense of continuity, of moving within a system that has functioned quietly for billions of years. There is comfort in knowing that nothing unexpected is required. The spacecraft does not need to react emotionally or adapt impulsively. It follows its design, which was shaped by countless careful decisions made on Earth. This alignment between planning and execution feels deeply reassuring. As the journey lengthens, anticipation grows slowly, never spiking. Bennu is still far away, not yet a destination but an idea held gently in mind. This distance preserves the calm, preventing excitement from overtaking patience. Everything will happen in time. The spacecraft continues its steady arc, carried by gravity and intention. Each kilometer passed is a small confirmation that slow progress is still progress. There is no wasted movement, no unnecessary action. The path remains clean and quiet. Observers on Earth settle into long-term watchfulness. The mission becomes part of the background rhythm of scientific life, checked regularly but not constantly. This balance allows confidence to deepen without strain. Trust replaces tension. In this phase, the journey itself becomes a lesson. It shows that meaningful exploration does not require constant stimulation. Instead, it thrives in stability, repetition, and calm attention. The spacecraft embodies this philosophy fully. Nothing about this departure seeks applause. The rocket's roar has long faded, replaced by near-total silence. What remains is motion guided by care, knowledge, and time. The beginning stretches into continuation without sharp edges. As OSIRIS-RX moves onward, it carries not just instruments, but a way of approaching the unknown gently. This approach shapes everything that follows. The mission does not hurry toward discovery, it allows discovery to arrive naturally. And so the journey continues, unbroken and serene. Earth recedes, Bennu waits, and space holds them both without judgment. In this quiet movement between worlds, the mission rests within its purpose, drifting forward calmly, inviting the listener to rest as well. First sight of Bennu, a dark, breathing rock. The moment Bennu first appears is not dramatic in the way stories often expect. It arrives slowly, emerging from the background of stars as a darker absence rather than a bright presence. Against the quiet glitter of space, Bennu looks like a shadow that learned how to move. There is no sound, no sudden realization, only a gradual understanding that something ancient is now close enough to be seen. This first sight carries a gentle weight, as if time itself has leaned forward to observe the observer. As OSIRIS-RX draws nearer, Bennu grows from a suggestion into a form, still subdued, still matte, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. The asteroid's surface does not shine, it rests. This darkness is meaningful, rich in carbon and history, telling scientists they are looking at material largely unchanged since the solar system's earliest days. The calmness of this view settles the mind, inviting attention without demanding it, like a quiet landscape seen at dusk. The first images reveal Bennu's shape, rounded yet slightly flattened, like a spinning top worn smooth by time. This form hints at slow processes rather than violent ones, at rubble gently gathered by gravity instead of forged by heat. There is comfort in this shape, something balanced and unhurried. It feels less like a threat and more like a relic, drifting patiently through its endless routine. As distance continues to close, details begin to emerge softly. Shadows form and dissolve as Bennu rotates, revealing slopes, ridges, and scattered boulders resting where they have for ages. Nothing looks sharp or aggressive. The surface appears loose, as though each stone has chosen its place and found peace there. The spacecraft does not rush closer, it watches, allowing the asteroid to introduce itself fully. Then something unexpected happens, though it does not break the calm. Tiny particles are seen lifting gently from Bennu's surface, drifting away like dust stirred by a barely felt breath. This subtle activity gives Bennu a sense of quiet life, not biological, but dynamic. It is not inert. It responds to sunlight and rotation, releasing fragments without urgency or force. These drifting particles do not alarm the mission. Instead, they deepen the sense of connection. Bennu is not a static object, it is participating in space, interacting softly with its environment. This breathing motion, slow and continuous, feels almost meditative, reinforcing the idea that even the smallest worlds are not truly still. The spacecraft adjusts its path carefully, respecting this activity. Nothing is forced. Observation continues from a safe distance, gathering understanding rather than control. Each new image adds context, not surprise. Bennu remains consistent, predictable in its quiet complexity. Light plays gently across the surface as Bennu turns. Brightness changes slowly, revealing how dark the material truly is. This darkness suggests carbon-rich compounds, the building blocks of chemistry that once shaped planets and possibly life. The thought settles in calmly, without excitement, as a simple truth waiting to be understood. As mapping begins, the asteroid's rotation becomes a steady rhythm. Each spin reveals familiar features again, reinforcing memory and recognition. Bennu becomes less of an object and more of a place, something that can be known through repetition. This familiarity grows gently, without rush. The scale of Bennu is humbling. It is small compared to planets, yet immense in meaning. Its surface tells stories that Earth has long forgotten. This contrast feels soothing rather than overwhelming, reminding the listener that importance does not require size or noise. OSIRIS-RX continues to circle, letting Bennu remain at the center of attention. The spacecraft becomes almost invisible in the narrative, a quiet companion rather than a protagonist. This balance preserves the calm tone, keeping focus on observation rather than action. As resolution improves, textures become clearer. Rocks appear fractured yet stable, layered yet settled. There is no sign of recent violence, only long-term exposure to space. This stability invites trust. Bennu has endured without drama, and it continues to do so now. The color data confirms expectations: deep blacks, muted grays, subtle variations that speak of composition rather than decoration. This restrained palette reinforces the asteroid's ancient character. Nothing here seeks attention, everything exists for its own quiet reasons. Temperature measurements reveal gentle extremes, warming and cooling with rotation. These changes drive the subtle release of particles, explaining Bennu's breathing without diminishing its mystery. Understanding arrives softly, fitting naturally into what is already seen. Each orbit tightens the sense of intimacy. Bennu is no longer distant or abstract. It feels present, almost familiar, like a landscape visited repeatedly in dreams. This emotional shift is subtle but powerful, grounding curiosity in calm recognition. The mission team absorbs this data steadily, without haste. There is no rush to announce conclusions. The first sight phase is about listening, not speaking. Bennu is allowed to exist fully before being interpreted. Silence dominates these moments. There are no alarms, no urgent corrections. The spacecraft glides, the asteroid turns, and space holds them both. This simplicity deepens the soothing quality of the experience. The breathing particles continue, never dramatic, always gentle. They become part of Bennu's personality, a signature behavior that distinguishes it quietly from expectations. This difference does not disrupt, it enriches. As days pass, the sense of time stretches. Bennu's slow rotation becomes a clock, marking progress without pressure. Each completed turn feels like a completed thought, calm and whole. The asteroid's gravity, faint but present, begins to shape the spacecraft's motion. This subtle influence creates a quiet partnership, a shared dance guided by natural laws. Nothing resists, everything cooperates. The first sight evolves into ongoing presence. Bennu is no longer being discovered, it is being known. This transition is gentle, almost unnoticed, yet deeply significant. With familiarity comes respect. The mission's careful movements reflect an understanding that this world deserves patience. Bennu is not a resource to extract quickly, but a story to read slowly. The darkness of Bennu no longer feels empty. It feels full, layered with meaning and memory. What once appeared as a shadow now feels like a companion in space. And so this chapter settles into calm continuity. Bennu spins, breathes, and waits. OSIRIS-REx watches, listens, and learns. Nothing rushes forward. Everything rests within the quiet certainty that understanding, like sleep, arrives most naturally when allowed to unfold slowly. Mapping in stillness, learning Bennu's surface. The work begins without urgency, as if the spacecraft itself understands that knowledge settles best when approached gently. OSIRIS-REx does not hurry across Bennu's face. It drifts, pauses, and circles, letting the asteroid reveal itself layer by layer. Each orbit feels like a slow breath taken together, machine and stone moving in quiet agreement. Mapping here is not an act of control but of listening, of allowing the surface to speak through shadow, texture, and subtle shifts of light that unfold only when patience is given enough time. The first maps are broad and forgiving, sketches rather than portraits. They outline Bennu's overall shape, confirming its spinning top form and showing how gravity has gathered loose material toward the equator. These early views are calm and simple, establishing a foundation without demanding detail. Like eyes adjusting to darkness, instruments learn how to see without strain, allowing the asteroid's presence to become familiar rather than overwhelming. Nothing is forced into clarity too quickly. As the orbits tighten, resolution increases slowly, carefully. The spacecraft lowers itself in stages, each one planned long in advance. From this closer distance, the surface begins to separate into regions, each with its own quiet personality. Some areas appear rough and crowded with boulders, others smoother and more open. These differences are not dramatic, they feel like variations in tone within a single, continuous composition. Light becomes a key teacher. As Bennu turns, sunlight slides gently across rocks and depressions, revealing height and depth without words. Shadows lengthen and retreat, tracing the contours of stones that have not moved for millions of years. This interplay is slow and soothing, repeating again and again until shapes become known not by surprise but by familiarity. The mapping instruments record patiently, frame by frame. Temperature measurements add another soft layer of understanding. Sensors note how different regions warm and cool, responding to the sun with subtle delays. These patterns hint at material properties, at how tightly grains are packed and how heat travels through them. The information arrives quietly, numbers forming gentle curves rather than sharp spikes. It feels less like data collection and more like listening to a steady rhythm. High-resolution images reveal cracks and fractures in individual rocks, lines formed by long exposure to space rather than sudden violence. These marks speak of expansion and contraction, of slow stresses repeated over endless cycles. Nothing here suggests chaos. Instead, The surface appears settled into a long acceptance of its environment, each stone resting where gravity and time have placed it. As mapping continues, the mission team begins to recognize landmarks. A distinctive boulder, a shallow depression, a ridge that curves slightly more than others. These features become reference points, anchors for understanding. They are named softly, not to claim ownership, but to aid memory. With each pass, these places feel more familiar, like revisiting locations in a dream that deepens with repetition. The spacecraft's motion remains careful and restrained. Every adjustment is minimal, conserving fuel and preserving stability. This restraint reinforces the sense of stillness, of movement without disturbance. Bennu is never startled by the mapping process. It continues to rotate, to release tiny particles, to exist as it always has, while being observed with respectful distance. Spectral instruments add quiet color to the grayscale view. They detect variations in mineral composition, revealing hydrated materials and carbon-rich compounds spread unevenly across the surface. These findings emerge gently, confirming expectations rather than overturning them. Each confirmation feels like a calm nod from the asteroid, acknowledging questions that have been asked thoughtfully. As days turn into weeks, the maps grow denser, layered with information that overlaps and reinforces itself. Topography, composition, temperature, and texture align into a coherent whole. There is comfort in this coherence, in seeing many measurements agree rather than compete. The surface begins to feel understood not completely, but sufficiently, like knowing the outline of a familiar face in low light. The stillness of mapping has an effect beyond science. It shapes the mood of the mission, encouraging calm decision-making and careful discussion. There is time to consider, to revisit data, to let conclusions emerge naturally. This pace feels appropriate for an object that has waited billions of years to be studied. Small uncertainties remain, but they are treated gently. Instead of forcing answers, the team allows questions to rest, knowing that further passes will provide clarity. This trust in process deepens the soothing rhythm of the work. Nothing is lost by waiting, much is gained. As the spacecraft lowers its orbit again, the sense of intimacy increases. Individual pebbles become visible, scattered across the regolith like quiet punctuation marks. Their distribution tells stories of low gravity and slow movement, of surfaces shaped by subtle forces rather than impact. These stories are read slowly, without haste. The maps now show slopes and angles precisely enough to plan future actions. Yet even this planning is done calmly, without pressure. The goal is safety and understanding, not speed. Every potential site is examined from multiple angles, under different lighting, across different times. Repetition becomes reassurance. The asteroid's breathing behavior is incorporated into the maps as well. Areas where particles are more frequently released are noted carefully. This activity does not disrupt the calm, it becomes another predictable pattern, another rhythm to be understood and respected. The surface feels alive in a mechanical, patient way. Communication between spacecraft and Earth continues steadily, signals crossing space with measured delays. This separation reinforces the need for clarity and foresight. Commands are sent sparingly, thoughtfully. The mission trusts the spacecraft to maintain its gentle vigilance. As mapping reaches its most detailed phase, the surface no longer feels foreign. It has become a landscape that can be imagined, almost walked upon in the mind. This mental familiarity is soothing, reducing uncertainty and building quiet confidence in what comes next. Each completed map is not an ending but a layer added. There is no final image that captures everything. Understanding here is cumulative, built slowly from many calm observations. This approach mirrors the nature of Bennu itself, assembled grain by grain over deep time. The spacecraft continues its careful dance, maintaining balance between closeness and caution. Gravity guides its path subtly, and calculations ensure stability. Everything remains controlled without feeling constrained, precise without feeling tense. As the mapping phase nears completion, there is no dramatic shift in tone. The work simply becomes complete, like finishing a long, peaceful walk. The surface of Bennu now exists in shared understanding, known well enough to approach more closely when the time comes. The stillness that defined this phase does not fade. It carries forward, shaping the next steps. Mapping has not disturbed Bennu's quiet nature, it has harmonized with it. Knowledge has been gathered without noise. And so this chapter settles into rest. The maps are stored, the data layered and secure. Bennu continues to turn beneath the stars, unchanged by attention. Osiris-Rex remains nearby, steady and calm, having learned the surface through patience, ready to move forward without breaking the gentle rhythm that has guided everything so far. A surprising chemistry, water where none should be. The discovery does not arrive as a shockwave but as a soft realization, like noticing moisture in the air after a long, quiet night. Scientists had expected Bennu to be dry, shaped by cold vacuum and distance from warmth. Yet the instruments begin to speak in gentle signals, pointing toward hydrated minerals hidden within dark stone. This is not liquid water flowing or shining, but something subtler, water bound into crystal structures, locked into place long ago. The idea settles slowly, changing assumptions without disturbing the calm rhythm of observation. As spectral data continues to arrive, the presence of hydroxyl groups becomes clearer. These chemical signatures suggest that water once interacted with the rock, altering its minerals through patient, ancient processes. This interaction did not require oceans or rain, only time and proximity. The realization feels like uncovering a quiet memory rather than a new event. Bennu is revealing a past where chemistry moved slowly, reshaping stone molecule by molecule in darkness. This water is not recent, not borrowed from Earth or space dust. It is primordial, preserved since the early solar system. The minerals holding it formed when liquid water briefly existed on Bennu's parent body, long before Bennu became the small asteroid now observed. This timeline stretches imagination gently, encouraging the mind to drift backward across billions of years without strain or urgency. The presence of water changes how Bennu is understood. It is no longer just a carbon-rich rock drifting through space, but a fragment of a larger body that once held warmth and chemical activity. This does not make Bennu dramatic or dangerous. Instead, it deepens its quiet significance, showing that even small, dark worlds carry layered histories. Instruments continue their careful scanning, confirming that hydrated minerals are spread unevenly across the surface. Some regions hold stronger signals than others, suggesting varied exposure and composition. These variations are subtle, not chaotic. They reflect slow geological processes rather than sudden disruption. Each measurement reinforces the sense of patience embedded in Bennu's story. The idea of water where none should be does not disrupt the mission's calm. Instead, it fits gently into existing models of asteroid formation. Scientists had theorized that such bodies could carry water-rich minerals. Bennu simply provides a clear, quiet example. Confirmation arrives softly, validating careful thinking rather than overturning it. This discovery connects Bennu to Earth in an unexpected way. The same kinds of hydrated minerals are found in certain ancient terrestrial rocks. This similarity suggests shared processes, shared materials, and shared origins. The connection feels reassuring, like finding familiar patterns in an unfamiliar place. Space feels less distant, less alien. The chemistry also hints at the delivery of water to early Earth. Asteroids like Bennu may have played a role in bringing essential ingredients for life to a once dry planet. This possibility unfolds gently, without grand claims. It is one thread among many, woven quietly into a much larger tapestry. As laboratory simulations mirror Bennu's chemistry, the findings remain consistent. Water is present, stable, and ancient. Nothing evaporates under scrutiny. The evidence does not demand belief, it invites understanding. Each confirmation strengthens trust in the instruments and the careful pace of the mission. The water locked into Bennu's minerals does not make the asteroid wet or icy. It remains dry to the touch, its surface dusty and dark. Yet beneath this dryness lies a chemical memory of interaction and change. This contrast adds depth without tension, complexity without confusion. Scientists discuss these findings with measured language. Words are chosen carefully, avoiding exaggeration. The tone remains steady, reflecting the nature of the discovery itself. This chemistry does not shout. It waits to be noticed, then waits again to be understood. The hydration also affects how Bennu responds to heat. As the asteroid warms and cools, these minerals expand and contract subtly, contributing to the slow release of particles from the surface. The breathing behavior observed earlier now gains deeper explanation, linking chemistry to motion in a seamless way. This connection feels satisfying, like pieces settling naturally into place. Nothing feels forced or coincidental. Bennu's water, its particles, its texture all align within a coherent, quiet narrative. Understanding deepens without acceleration. The discovery reshapes future mission planning as well. If water-bearing minerals are common in such asteroids, they become valuable not for exploitation, but for knowledge. They offer insights into planetary formation and chemical evolution, guiding curiosity gently forward. Bennu remains calm throughout this attention. It does not change its behavior or appearance. The chemistry was always there, waiting. The mission simply learned how to see it. This reinforces a comforting truth: the universe often reveals itself only when approached with patience. As more data accumulates, small uncertainties fade. The signals remain stable across different instruments and conditions. Consistency replaces doubt quietly, without celebration. Confidence grows slowly, rooted in repetition and agreement. The presence of water also reframes Bennu's age. It suggests formation in an environment where liquid water could exist, at least briefly. This environment no longer exists, but its traces remain preserved. Time feels layered here, folded gently into stone. The mission team allows these ideas to mature. There is no rush to finalize interpretations. Each hypothesis is allowed to rest, tested again and again against new data. This slow verification mirrors the slow chemistry that formed the minerals themselves. Public explanations follow the same tone. The story of water on Bennu is told calmly, without spectacle. It invites listeners to consider deep time and quiet processes rather than dramatic events. This approach aligns naturally with the mission's soothing rhythm. As Bennu continues to rotate beneath the spacecraft, its water-bearing minerals move in and out of sunlight, unchanged. They do not react or reveal themselves visibly. Their significance exists entirely in understanding, not appearance. The chemistry also underscores Bennu's fragility. These minerals formed under specific conditions and survived intact for billions of years. This survival feels delicate and precious, encouraging care rather than intrusion. Each new analysis session feels like returning to a familiar thought, deepening rather than expanding. The idea of water becomes integrated into Bennu's identity, no longer surprising but essential. The calm persistence of this discovery reinforces a broader lesson. Complexity does not require noise. Profound truths often arrive quietly, revealed only through sustained attention and gentle inquiry. As the mission prepares for its next phase, The presence of water remains a guiding understanding. It influences decisions without dictating them, informing rather than commanding. This balance preserves the mission's peaceful character. In the end, water on Bennu does not feel like an exception to cosmic rules. It feels like confirmation that chemistry moves everywhere, slowly and patiently, even in darkness. The asteroid continues its orbit, carrying its hidden moisture silently, while understanding settles softly, inviting rest rather than excitement. The strange substance revealed, carbon-rich material. The realization unfolds slowly, like eyes adjusting to a dim room, as instruments begin to agree on what Bennu is truly made of. The surface, already known to be dark, reveals a depth of composition that feels almost velvety in its richness. Carbon dominates here, not as soot or ash, but as complex compounds bound into ancient rock. This material absorbs light and sound alike, inviting calm rather than excitement. It feels less like a discovery and more like a quiet unveiling, as though Bennu has been patiently holding this truth until someone learned how to look gently enough. Carbon-rich material is not unexpected in theory, yet its abundance on Bennu carries a particular weight. These compounds formed early, before planets settled into their paths, when chemistry was free to explore countless combinations. The carbon here is primitive, untouched by heat or pressure intense enough to erase its structure. This preservation feels soothing, like a memory kept intact through unimaginable time. The instruments confirm again and again that Bennu's darkness is not emptiness, but density of history. As spectral readings deepen, scientists observe organic molecules woven into the mineral fabric. These are not signs of life, nor promises of it, but ingredients that once drifted freely through the early solar system. Their presence feels familiar, grounding, as if the building blocks of Earth's own chemistry are being quietly mirrored far from home. The carbon does not announce itself dramatically, it simply remains, steady and consistent across Bennu's surface. This material explains Bennu's unusual behavior with light. Its surface reflects very little, absorbing solar energy gently and releasing it slowly. This absorption contributes to subtle temperature changes that drive the asteroid's breathing, the quiet shedding of particles into space. The carbon-rich surface is not passive, it participates softly in its environment, responding without resistance or urgency. The texture of this material becomes clearer through high-resolution imagery. Rocks appear fragile, layered, almost crumbly in places, as if they could yield to a careful touch. This fragility suggests a loose assembly, a rubble pile held together by gravity and time rather than force. The idea feels calming, reinforcing that Bennu is not a monolith but a collection of histories resting together. Carbon compounds also influence how Bennu ages. Exposure to radiation slowly alters the surface, darkening it further and changing its chemistry at the outermost layers. These changes happen quietly, over millions of years, without visible drama. The asteroid accepts this transformation as part of its existence, and the mission records it without judgment. Laboratory comparisons on Earth help place Bennu's carbon in context. Meteorites with similar compositions have fallen before, carrying whispers of ancient chemistry. Bennu, however, offers these materials untouched by Earth's atmosphere or contamination. This purity feels rare and precious, encouraging careful handling and thoughtful interpretation. The discovery of such rich carbon content strengthens theories about the early solar system. It suggests that organic material was widespread, available to be incorporated into forming planets. This idea settles gently into scientific understanding, expanding it without disruption. Bennu becomes a quiet confirmation rather than a challenge. Each new dataset reinforces the same message. No matter where instruments look, carbon remains present, consistent, and dominant. This consistency is soothing, reducing uncertainty and building trust. The asteroid's identity becomes clearer, not through sudden revelation, but through repeated, calm observation. The carbon-rich nature of Bennu also explains its low density. The materials are porous, filled with tiny spaces that hold history without compressing it. This porosity feels almost breathable, aligning with the image of Bennu as a softly breathing world. The metaphor does not strain, it fits naturally. As understanding deepens, the term strange substance feels less strange. What once seemed unusual now feels expected, even appropriate. Carbon belongs here, in this dark, ancient place. The unfamiliar becomes familiar through patience, easing the mind rather than challenging it. Scientists take care to describe these findings without exaggeration. The language remains precise and measured, reflecting the calm nature of the material itself. Carbon-rich does not mean volatile or dangerous. It means stable, enduring, quietly complex. The surface composition also influences how Bennu interacts with spacecraft. The loose, carbon-laden regolith requires gentle approaches and careful planning. This necessity reinforces the mission's overall tone of respect and patience. Nothing can be rushed on such a surface without consequence. As Bennu rotates, different carbon-rich regions move into view, each slightly different in texture and composition. These variations are subtle, like changes in tone rather than color. They invite continued observation without demanding immediate interpretation. The carbon compounds include amino acid precursors and other organic molecules, arranged without intention, yet full of possibility. This randomness feels peaceful rather than chaotic, reflecting natural processes unfolding without goal or hurry. The molecules exist because conditions allowed them to, nothing more. This chemistry strengthens the connection between Bennu and early Earth. It suggests that similar materials once fell onto our planet, contributing quietly to its chemical inventory. The thought feels grounding, like realizing a shared ancestry with something distant and ancient. The mission team allows these implications to rest without pushing them too far. There is no need to leap toward conclusions. The carbon-rich material speaks sufficiently through its presence alone. Understanding grows through stillness. As samples are anticipated, the importance of this carbon becomes even clearer. Returning such material to Earth offers a chance to study ancient chemistry directly, under controlled conditions. This prospect feels hopeful, but calm, aligned with the mission's steady rhythm. Bennu itself remains unchanged by this attention. Its surface continues to absorb light, release particles, and rotate quietly. The carbon does not react to being known. It simply exists, as it always has. The strange substance, once revealed, becomes a companion to understanding rather than a mystery to solve. Its behavior is predictable, its presence consistent. This reliability is comforting, reinforcing trust in both nature and observation. As models are refined, Bennu's formation story grows clearer. Carbon-rich material accumulated gently, protected from intense heat, preserved by distance and chance. This narrative unfolds smoothly, without contradiction. The mission's calm approach proves essential here. Only through slow mapping and careful measurement could such subtle chemistry be recognized and appreciated. Speed would have blurred these details into noise. Public explanations echo this tone, presenting the carbon-rich discovery as an insight rather than a spectacle. Listeners are invited to reflect rather than react, to imagine deep time rather than sudden change. As Bennu continues its endless orbit, its carbon remains locked in place, carrying information forward. The asteroid does not offer answers freely, it rewards patience. This exchange feels balanced and fair. The strange substance, now familiar, becomes part of the mission's quiet foundation. It informs decisions, shapes interpretations, and deepens respect. Nothing about it demands urgency. And so this chapter settles into gentle understanding. Carbon-rich material, ancient and stable, defines Bennu's character without overwhelming it. The asteroid drifts on, dark and calm, while knowledge rests softly alongside it, ready to deepen further, inviting the listener to drift into rest as well. Touching the asteroid, a moment of soft contact. The moment approaches without ceremony, unfolding as quietly as everything that came before it. There is no rush in the spacecraft's motion, no dramatic descent, only a careful lowering guided by calculations refined over years of patient thought. Bennu turns beneath OSIRIS-RX as it always has, unaware of the significance humans place on this approach. The distance closes slowly, meter by meter, until space itself seems to hold its breath, allowing machine and ancient stone to meet without disturbance. As the spacecraft descends, its movements become almost imperceptible. Thrusters fire gently, brief whispers of force that barely disturb the surrounding emptiness. Every adjustment is deliberate, restrained, designed to preserve calm rather than impose control. The surface details grow clearer, individual stones resting in low gravity, shadows lying softly across uneven ground. This is not an arrival meant to impress, but one meant to respect, a continuation of listening rather than an interruption. The chosen site waits quietly below, unchanged by anticipation. It is not smooth or welcoming in a human sense, yet it holds the promise of loose material, grains that can be gathered without harm. This place was selected through months of calm observation, each decision layered gently atop the last. Nothing here feels sudden. Everything feels prepared, as though the asteroid itself has agreed to this brief contact. As OSIRIS-RX lowers its sampling arm, the motion feels almost tender. The arm extends slowly, deliberately, like a hand reaching out in the dark without knowing exactly what it will touch. There is no gripping, no grasping, only the intention to brush, to gather, to retreat. This approach honors the fragility of Bennu's surface and the ancient story held within it. The spacecraft's shadow passes over the ground, momentarily dimming a patch of stone that has not known shadow in this shape before. This fleeting darkness feels intimate, temporary, leaving no mark. Instruments monitor every variable calmly, reporting steady conditions, no alarms, no surprises. The mission remains grounded in patience, even now. Contact happens almost without sensation. The sampling head touches the surface lightly, compressing loose material just enough to allow grains to lift. A brief release of gas stirs the regolith, sending particles gently upward into the collector. There is no explosion, no scattering of debris, only a soft bloom of motion that settles quickly into stillness again. For a moment, Bennu responds with quiet generosity. Dust and small fragments rise, suspended briefly in low gravity, then guided into containment. This exchange lasts only seconds, yet it feels expansive, as if time itself has slowed to acknowledge the significance. Nothing is forced. Nothing is taken violently. The contact remains gentle from beginning to end. Almost immediately, the spacecraft begins to withdraw. The arm retracts slowly, carefully, ensuring nothing lingers longer than needed. Bennu's surface relaxes back into its familiar arrangement, altered only slightly, a small disturbance in an otherwise timeless landscape. This minimal impact feels intentional, respectful, aligned with the mission's guiding philosophy. As OSIRIS-RX pulls away, instruments confirm what was hoped for, material has been collected. The data arrives calmly, numbers aligning with expectations. There is no cheering, no sudden release of tension. Satisfaction settles quietly, like a deep breath taken after careful effort. The spacecraft rises gently, increasing distance without haste. Bennu continues its rotation, particles drifting briefly before returning or escaping softly into space. The asteroid does not react. It does not change course or character. The contact was brief, precise, and complete. This moment, so long anticipated, does not disrupt the mission's rhythm. Instead, it blends seamlessly into what came before and what will follow. Touching Bennu feels less like an achievement and more like a conversation completed politely, without raised voices or lingering demands. The collected material now rests safely inside the spacecraft, protected from the harshness of space. These grains carry chemistry older than Earth, preserved through unimaginable time. Their journey has just begun, yet even this future feels calm, unfolding at a pace set long ago. Engineers and scientists review telemetry slowly, confirming stability, confirming success. There is comfort in confirmation, in knowing that preparation has translated into outcome without drama. The mission's careful tone remains intact. The sampling site, now slightly altered, fades back into anonymity as the spacecraft moves away. No flag marks the place. No scar remains visible from afar. Bennu retains its quiet dignity, its surface still shaped more by time than by contact. This restraint feels important. It reinforces the idea that exploration does not require domination. Knowledge can be gathered softly, without leaving loud traces. The universe does not need to be shaken to be understood. As the spacecraft settles into a safe orbit again, the significance of the moment deepens gradually. It is not the touch itself that matters most, but how it was done. Gently, briefly, with care. This approach becomes part of the story carried forward. The sample, unseen and untouched by human hands, rests in darkness, unchanged. It waits without impatience. Its existence alone feels calming, a reminder that some things improve by not being rushed into light. Bennu drifts on, indifferent yet generous, having offered a small part of itself without loss. The exchange feels balanced, fair, and complete. Nothing more is asked in this moment. The mission team allows the success to settle emotionally without forcing celebration. There will be time for analysis, time for meaning. For now, there is only confirmation and calm continuation. The spacecraft systems return to steady monitoring, conserving energy, maintaining orientation. Everything resumes its gentle rhythm, as if the touch never happened at all. This continuity is reassuring. In the vastness of space, this contact is almost invisible, a brief alignment of paths that quickly diverge again. Yet its significance lies not in scale, but in intention. The asteroid's surface continues to warm and cool, to release particles slowly, to exist within its ancient cycle. The spacecraft becomes once again a quiet observer rather than an actor. The moment of soft contact fades into memory, not sharply, but gradually, like a dream recalled gently upon waking. It leaves no urgency behind. As distance increases, the mission carries forward its precious cargo, wrapped in patience and precision. The touch has passed, but its meaning remains steady. There is peace in knowing that nothing was rushed, nothing forced. The universe allowed this meeting because it was approached correctly, with care. And so the chapter closes without finality. Bennu spins on. OSIRIS-RX drifts away. The sample rests quietly. Everything returns to stillness, carrying forward the calm understanding that even touching another world can be done softly, inviting rest rather than awe. An overflowing sample, more than planned. The confirmation arrives slowly, not as a sudden announcement but as a careful realization formed by repeated checks and quiet agreement among instruments. The sample container, designed to hold a measured amount of Bennu's surface, is fuller than expected. Grains press gently against edges, visible where none were meant to be seen. This abundance does not feel chaotic or alarming. Instead, it feels like a calm generosity, as if the asteroid offered more simply because it could, without drama or demand. At first, Engineers study the readings with deliberate calm. They do not rush to conclusions. Telemetry is examined again and again, each value resting comfortably within safe margins. The overflowing nature of the sample is not a malfunction, but a consequence of Bennu's loose, welcoming surface. The realization settles softly. The asteroid's material flowed more freely than models predicted, responding easily to the brief touch. Images confirm what the data suggests. Fine grains cling gently where the collection head meets space, held by low gravity and delicate forces. These particles do not scatter wildly. They remain calm, almost reluctant to leave their gathered place. The sight carries a quiet beauty, an image of abundance that does not overwhelm, but reassures. This fullness introduces a new kind of patience. The mission shifts into a mode of protection rather than action. Movements become even more restrained, each maneuver planned to preserve what has been gathered. There is no sense of urgency, only careful stewardship. The sample is treated as something resting, not something to be rushed home. Bennu's contribution feels effortless. The asteroid did not need to be persuaded or pressed. Its surface yielded naturally, releasing material that had waited loosely for ages. This ease reinforces earlier impressions of Bennu as a gentle world, shaped by accumulation rather than compression, by time rather than force. As the spacecraft adjusts its posture to secure the sample, the tone remains steady. The arm retracts fully, seals are prepared, and the container is positioned carefully. Every step is deliberate, with pauses built in to confirm stability. The abundance of material does not complicate the process, it simply asks for more care. The idea of having more than planned feels quietly satisfying. It does not inspire triumph, but gratitude. More grains mean more stories, more chemistry, more chances to listen deeply once the sample returns to Earth. This potential rests calmly in the background, not pulling attention away from the present moment. Engineers consider the long journey ahead. The sample must survive years of travel, re-entry, and recovery. This awareness encourages even greater gentleness. Nothing is rushed now. The mission's pace, already slow, becomes almost meditative, focused on preservation above all else. The excess material also reinforces confidence in earlier observations. Bennu's surface truly is loose and rich, its carbon-laden regolith willing to move when asked softly. This consistency between prediction and outcome feels reassuring, like hearing a familiar voice answer exactly as expected. As the spacecraft stabilizes, the sample remains quiet inside its container. There is no motion, no disturbance. The grains settle into stillness, held securely, as if they understand the need for rest. This stillness mirrors the calm of the mission itself. The abundance does not change Bennu's appearance. From a distance, the surface looks as it always has, dark and textured, breathing gently under sunlight. The slight disturbance left behind is invisible, a reminder that meaningful exchange does not require visible marks. Discussion among scientists unfolds slowly, thoughtfully. They acknowledge the success without exaggeration. Words are chosen carefully, honoring the tone of the mission. More than planned is not framed as a surprise to exploit, but as a gift to protect. The sample's richness deepens anticipation for future analysis, yet this anticipation remains gentle. There is no pressure to imagine results too soon. The material will speak in its own time, under careful conditions, long after the journey ends. As OSIRIS-RX begins to move away from Bennu for the final time, the presence of the full sample adds weight without heaviness. The spacecraft carries not just material, but responsibility. This responsibility is accepted quietly, without strain. Distance grows between spacecraft and asteroid, and yet the connection feels complete. Bennu has given what it could. The mission has received without excess force. Balance has been maintained. The overflowing sample becomes part of the mission's calm narrative. It does not disrupt plans, it enriches them. Procedures adapt smoothly, guided by preparation and patience. Nothing feels improvised or hurried. The spacecraft systems remain steady. Temperatures are monitored, orientations adjusted gently. Everything moves in service of keeping the sample safe and undisturbed. This protective focus feels nurturing rather than technical. Time stretches again into long, quiet travel. The abundance inside the container rests through this stretch, unchanged, waiting. The idea of waiting feels natural now, deeply woven into the mission's rhythm. Scientists imagine future laboratories, clean rooms, and careful hands. These thoughts arise softly, then are set aside. There is no need to rush forward mentally. The present moment holds enough meaning. The excess material also offers reassurance against loss. Even if small amounts are sacrificed to analysis, much will remain. This redundancy feels comforting, allowing care without fear. Bennu continues its orbit, unaffected by the generosity it offered. Its surface remains intact, its story ongoing. The asteroid does not seem diminished. This reinforces the mission's respectful approach. As Earth grows closer over months and years, the sample remains sealed, protected from contamination and time. Its abundance becomes a quiet promise rather than a loud expectation. The mission team maintains vigilance without anxiety. Checks are routine, procedures familiar. Confidence rests on preparation and consistency, not hope. The overflowing nature of the sample is discussed calmly in public explanations. It is presented as a reflection of Bennu's nature, not a dramatic twist. This honesty preserves trust and tone. As the journey continues, the sample becomes almost forgotten in daily operations, not because it lacks importance, but because it is secure. Security allows attention to relax. The spacecraft moves steadily through space, carrying more than planned and less than everything. This balance feels right. Enough has been gathered to learn deeply, without taking too much. The abundance rests quietly, grain against grain, chemistry against chemistry, unchanged by motion. It feels like a sleeping thing, content in darkness. And so this chapter settles gently into continuation. An overflowing sample, richer than expected, travels calmly toward Earth. No urgency follows it. No excitement disturbs it. It simply goes, carried by patience, inviting the listener to rest in the knowledge that sometimes, the universe gives a little more when approached softly. The long return, carrying ancient dust home. The departure from Bennu does not feel like leaving so much as easing away, a gradual widening of distance that preserves the calm established over years of careful work. OSIRIS-RX adjusts its trajectory gently, guided by gravity and quiet calculations, carrying its precious cargo without haste. Inside the sealed container, ancient dust rests undisturbed, grains older than Earth itself drifting now through space toward a new chapter. Nothing rushes. The return begins the same way everything else has unfolded, slowly, deliberately, and without spectacle. As Bennu recedes into the darkness, it does not vanish suddenly. It shrinks over days, then weeks, becoming a familiar shape growing smaller rather than a memory cut off. This lingering presence feels important, allowing the mission to close that chapter softly. Bennu continues its patient orbit, unchanged, while the spacecraft carries a small part of its story forward. The separation feels complete yet gentle, like two paths diverging calmly after a meaningful meeting. The return trajectory is long and smooth, shaped by celestial mechanics rather than forceful thrust. Gravity assists and careful burns guide the spacecraft along an efficient arc back toward Earth. These maneuvers are subtle, almost invisible against the vastness of space. Each one is executed with restraint, ensuring stability above all else. The mission's tone remains steady, focused on preservation rather than progress. Inside the spacecraft, the sample capsule remains sealed and quiet. No light touches the dust within. No vibration disturbs its rest. The grains remain exactly as they were when lifted from Bennu's surface, suspended now in a long, dark journey. This stillness feels respectful, as though time itself has been asked to pause until the moment is right. Communication with Earth continues at a measured pace. Signals travel back and forth, across millions of kilometers, carrying routine updates rather than excitement. Telemetry confirms stable temperatures, proper orientation, and secure containment. Each confirmation adds reassurance without demanding attention. Confidence grows quietly, built on repetition and consistency. The long return allows space for reflection without urgency. Scientists and engineers revisit data, refine models, and prepare for the careful work that will come later. Yet even this preparation is unhurried. There is no need to rush toward conclusions when the material itself has waited billions of years. The mission's patience feels aligned with the age of what it carries. As months pass, the spacecraft becomes a quiet traveler once more. The sun remains a steady companion, providing energy and gentle guidance. Stars drift past in silence. There are no dramatic events, only steady motion through emptiness. This uneventful stretch is not boring, it is comforting, reinforcing that the most important work now is simply to arrive safely. The sample's abundance adds weight to the responsibility carried home. More material means more opportunity, but also more need for care. Every system check reflects this awareness. Redundancy, caution, and restraint guide decisions. The mission does not seek efficiency at the expense of safety. Preservation remains the highest priority. Time aboard the spacecraft flows evenly, marked by internal clocks and distant commands. There is no sunrise or sunset to interrupt the rhythm. This timelessness deepens the soothing quality of the journey, encouraging a sense of calm continuity rather than anticipation. The return is not a countdown, it is a passage. Occasional course corrections occur, each one small and precise. Thrusters fire briefly, nudging the spacecraft into alignment. These actions are quiet confirmations of control rather than signs of difficulty. Everything behaves as expected, reinforcing trust in planning and design. As Earth slowly grows brighter ahead, it remains distant enough not to demand attention. The planet is a destination, not yet an arrival. This distance preserves the mission's calm, preventing excitement from disturbing focus. There is time still, plenty of it. The ancient dust continues its silent travel, shielded from radiation and contamination. Its chemistry remains intact, its structure unchanged. This preservation feels almost sacred, though treated scientifically. The idea that such old material can be carried so gently through space feels reassuring, a testament to careful intention. Engineers rehearse the final phases repeatedly, reviewing procedures until they feel like quiet habits rather than tense plans. Reentry, separation, recovery all exist as known steps, not looming challenges. Familiarity reduces anxiety, allowing calm to dominate even thoughts of the most critical moments. Public awareness of the mission grows gradually, but explanations remain measured. The return is described not as a race, but as a careful homecoming. This language reflects reality, reinforcing the mission's patient character. Nothing about the return seeks spectacle. As Earth's gravity begins to influence the spacecraft more noticeably, the transition feels smooth rather than abrupt. The spacecraft responds as designed, adjusting gently to the planet's pull. This cooperation between machine and physics feels seamless, almost effortless. The capsule containing the sample becomes the quiet center of attention. All systems orient around ensuring its safe delivery. Yet even now, nothing is rushed. Each step waits for confirmation before proceeding. Patience remains the guiding principle. The long return allows the mission team to slow their own thoughts. Anticipation is acknowledged, then set aside. There will be time for excitement later. For now, steadiness matters more than emotion. As distance shortens, communication delays decrease. Signals return more quickly, yet this immediacy does not change behavior. Calm habits remain in place, preserving the tone established long ago. Speed of response does not equal speed of action. The spacecraft continues its steady approach, carrying ancient dust across the final stretch. This dust has traveled farther now than it ever has before, yet it remains unchanged, resting quietly in darkness. Its journey feels almost dreamlike, bridging deep space and human curiosity. Earth's presence grows clearer, a familiar blue emerging against black. This sight does not break the calm. Instead, it feels grounding, a reminder of why the journey began. The connection between Bennu and Earth feels complete, a loop closing softly. Final checks intensify but do not rush. Every reading is confirmed, every system verified. There is confidence here, not tension. Preparation has replaced uncertainty so thoroughly that even critical moments feel manageable. The capsule's path is calculated with care, ensuring a gentle arrival. Heat, speed, and angle are all considered calmly, methodically. Nothing is left to chance, yet nothing feels forced. As the moment of release approaches, the spacecraft maintains its quiet vigil. The capsule remains sealed, patient, ready. This readiness does not feel urgent. It feels natural, like the final step of a long, well-practiced movement. The idea of ancient dust returning to Earth carries emotional weight, yet this weight does not disrupt calm. Instead, it settles gently, adding depth without pressure. The mission has done its work by not hurrying. The return journey, so long and quiet, now nears completion. Yet even this nearing feels slow, stretched, respectful of time. There is no sudden ending, only a gradual transition. Bennu's dust, carried carefully across space, remains silent and complete. Its story is intact, ready to be listened to later. For now, it rests. The spacecraft continues its approach, steady and controlled. Earth waits, patient as well. This meeting does not feel dramatic, it feels inevitable. And so the long return unfolds to its final stretch, carrying ancient dust home without disturbance. The universe remains calm around this passage, and within that calm, understanding waits. Nothing rushes forward. Everything arrives in its own time, inviting the listener to rest in the quiet assurance that some journeys matter most because they are taken slowly. Arrival without noise, a soft landing on Earth. The approach begins like all that has come before, gradual, deliberate, and almost imperceptible. OSIRIS-RX guides the capsule along its carefully calculated trajectory, slipping through Earth's gravitational influence with gentle precision. There is no dramatics, no sudden jolt. The craft does not announce itself with light or sound. Instead, it moves quietly, carrying its precious cargo with the patience and care that have defined the mission from the first moment Bennu was glimpsed. As the atmosphere nears, instruments monitor every detail with unwavering calm. The capsule itself is insulated against heat and stress, designed to glide rather than strike. Thrusters provide minimal corrections, nudging the trajectory without creating turbulence. Each micro-adjustment is a conversation with physics, a quiet negotiation that respects the limits of both machine and material. There is a rhythm here, slow and steady, as though the spacecraft and Earth are moving together in mutual understanding. Heat shields begin their silent work, converting friction into gentle warmth that does not disturb the precious grains within. The glowing plasma that surrounds the capsule is fleeting, wrapping it in a temporary veil of brilliance that neither startles nor disrupts the careful contents. It is a protective shroud, not a spectacle, preserving the integrity of material older than Earth itself. This light is ephemeral, passing as quietly as it arrived, leaving no mark beyond safe passage. The parachute deploys in an understated, methodical sequence. Canopy unfurls with a soft, deliberate tension, slowing descent without abrupt motion. The capsule floats downward, guided by gravity and air, as if settling into the arms of the planet it has long orbited from afar. There is no crash, no jar, only gentle suspension. Earth's surface approaches gradually, measured in meters rather than heartbeats, reinforcing the calm pace of the journey. Sensors track altitude and velocity continuously, but readings are steady and reassuring. Nothing wavers. Engineers on the ground watch without panic, knowing that preparation and precision have guided the capsule to this moment. The long journey has taught patience, and patience now ensures that the landing will honor the care taken across years and millions of kilometers. The capsule touches the Earth softly, cushioned by both design and gravity. Dust rises minimally from the ground, particles disturbed only slightly by contact. There is no dramatic explosion of motion or sound, only the quiet settling of ancient material into a new home. The moment is complete yet understated, a conclusion reached without spectacle, echoing the gentle philosophy of the mission itself. Teams approach the landing site with deliberate calm. Movement is measured, careful, with the knowledge that the capsule contains a treasure of science and history. The dust within has traveled farther and waited longer than anyone could fully imagine, and it is treated with reverence. Hands are steady, steps slow, all guided by the understanding that rushing could diminish what has been preserved so perfectly. Once secured, the capsule is transported to a controlled environment for initial inspection. The doors remain closed, the contents untouched. Instruments outside measure temperature, pressure, and integrity, all returning expected, reassuring results. There is no urgency, only calm observation and validation. The journey's care extends seamlessly into its final stages. Opening the capsule for the first time occurs with measured ceremony. Researchers work in clean, quiet spaces, aware of the fragility and significance of what lies within. Dust and grains are studied under controlled lighting, revealing the textures, colors, and composition preserved through billions of years. Each fragment seems to whisper history, yet it does so softly, demanding reflection rather than immediate response. The volume of material exceeds expectations slightly, echoing the generosity Bennu offered. Particles spill gently across containment trays, loose yet stable. There is no chaos, no uncontrolled scattering. The abundance is interpreted with calm delight, a quiet affirmation that nature can be generous when approached with patience and care. Analytical instruments are engaged slowly, methodically, capturing data without disruption. Chemical composition, mineralogy, and isotopic ratios are recorded, layer by layer. The process mirrors the careful approach of OSIRIS-RX itself, deliberate and unhurried. Nothing about the work feels rushed. Each reading becomes another note in the quiet symphony of discovery. Researchers note the water-bearing minerals first. Their presence confirms earlier observations from Bennu, and yet the reality of holding this material on Earth brings a serene satisfaction. The discovery is profound but never loud. It is a subtle confirmation, a gentle expansion of knowledge rather than an abrupt revelation. Carbon-rich compounds reveal themselves next, fragile and intricate. These ancient molecules, preserved through deep space and a careful landing, invite calm examination. Their patterns are clear, their stability reassuring. No fragment is lost, nothing is forced. The universe's quiet generosity continues to be mirrored in the measured response of science. Microscopic grains tell stories of early solar system processes, of chemical reactions and collisions that occurred billions of years ago. These tales unfold silently, yet fully, demanding neither spectacle nor urgency. Each observation is a whisper from deep time, absorbed patiently by those who listen with careful instruments and disciplined minds. Time itself seems to slow in these moments. The grandeur of the journey does not distract. Instead, it is the subtlety, the patient travel, the gentle landing, the preserved dust that captures attention. This quiet approach reinforces the notion that discovery need not be loud to be significant. The clean room remains calm, filled with the soft hum of instruments rather than voices raised in excitement. Researchers move deliberately, recording and documenting each step. This steadiness mirrors the journey itself, from approach to collection to return. Continuity in tone reinforces confidence and care. Handling protocols emphasize softness and restraint. Tools are light, movements deliberate. Even minor vibrations are minimized to protect the grains. The careful treatment mirrors the gentle encounter between spacecraft and asteroid. Nothing is rushed. Everything respects history and fragility. The arrival without noise is also symbolic. It reflects the philosophy of the mission: patient observation, minimal disruption, and thoughtful interaction with worlds beyond Earth. Each particle collected, each measurement recorded, is a testament to the virtue of restraint and the power of stillness. As results are compiled, comparisons with prior remote sensing are made slowly. Expectations align with findings, affirming both the observations at Bennu and the careful collection methodology. Confidence grows quietly. There is satisfaction in reliability rather than spectacle. The final resting place for the sample, at least temporarily, is secure and stable. Dust rests quietly within its containment, awaiting detailed study. No disturbance, no sudden exposure. The ancient material is preserved exactly as it has been carried across space, a silent witness to eons. The mission team allows themselves reflection without excess celebration. Years of patient work have led to this moment, yet the emphasis remains on careful observation rather than dramatic triumph. Calm pride replaces excitement. The capsule and its contents become part of a broader story, of solar system history, of chemistry, of human curiosity exercised with respect. Its quiet presence allows contemplation without distraction. As this chapter concludes, the landing feels complete yet understated. OSIRIS-REx's task, the asteroid's generosity, and the dust's journey are all resolved without fanfare, in harmony with the tone established from the first sight of Bennu. Earth welcomes the capsule without fanfare. Nature participates silently, the planet's gravity and atmosphere providing a gentle embrace. There is no jarring impact, only completion of a long and careful passage. The soft landing ensures that knowledge arrives intact. Scientific opportunity is preserved. The story of Bennu continues, now intimately connected to Earth, yet the passage has remained quiet, respectful, and deliberate. And so, the chapter closes in tranquility. The capsule rests, the dust is secure, and the journey's lessons, patience, gentleness, reverence for history echo softly, inviting the observer to pause, reflect, and rest alongside the quiet arrival of ancient worlds. Opening the capsule, a breath held still. The moment arrives quietly, with no fanfare, no rush. Scientists enter the clean room slowly, their steps measured, their breaths controlled. The capsule sits at the center of the room, unassuming, yet holding particles older than any human history. Instruments hum softly around it, ready to observe, not disturb. The air itself feels deliberate, thick with anticipation but restrained. Every movement is practiced, every gesture considered, as though the room itself understands the gravity of what it contains. The first seals are inspected carefully. Hands move with precision, lifting latches and verifying pressure readings without hurry. Every click and slide is deliberate. The capsule's integrity has been preserved across millions of kilometers through fiery atmospheric entry, and now every precaution is taken to honor that protection. The team works with quiet reverence, aware that even the smallest misstep could compromise ancient material that has waited billions of years to be understood. As the outer door opens, a faint sigh of air escapes, a soft whisper of the outside world meeting the carefully controlled environment within. Dust remains confined within, held securely, as though reluctant to leave its journeying home. The sight of it, so finely preserved, inspires, or without excitement, a calm recognition that what is seen is part of something far greater than any immediate human experience. Light touches the inner surfaces, revealing the delicate textures of the sample collector. Tiny fragments of regolith cling together, arranged as if frozen mid-motion, suspended in gravity so low it has not fully influenced them. The particles appear almost weightless, and their arrangement tells the story of Bennu's slow accumulation over eons. The observers move slowly, absorbing details without interference, each glance deliberate, each note recorded carefully. The sample's volume exceeds expectations. Grains press lightly against containment walls, yet none are dislodged. This fullness is a quiet triumph, a testament to Bennu's generosity and the meticulous collection process. There is no chaos, only gentle abundance, as if the asteroid offered more than planned because it understood how carefully it would be treated. This subtle overabundance reinforces the patient tone of the entire mission. Specialized tools are introduced with extreme care. Instruments hover just above the sample, scanning, imaging, and preparing for deeper study. No physical contact is made until every measure confirms stability. The room remains still, each technician conscious of the history within the container. Movements are deliberate, synchronized, a choreography born of preparation and respect. Observations begin immediately. High-resolution cameras capture each angle, recording the grain sizes, colors, and textures. Even these preliminary images reveal subtle complexity, fragments that sparkle faintly under controlled light, others darker and more matte, each holding clues to chemical composition and history. Nothing about the process is hurried. Every detail is allowed to reveal itself on its own schedule. Chemical sensors hover, testing the outer surfaces for contamination, for environmental response, for any deviation from expected stability. Results are calm, reassuring. The sample remains pristine. It is a quiet affirmation that preparation and patience, cultivated over years, have preserved not only the material but the integrity of the science itself. The team documents each finding meticulously. Notes, photographs, and measurements accumulate slowly, deliberately. There is no rush to analyze too quickly. The dust carries more than data, it carries history and meaning, demanding respect in proportion to its age. Each recording feels like a conversation with deep time itself. As layers are gently examined, variations in particle size become apparent. Some fragments are fine, almost powdery, others are larger, angular, and textured. These differences are not chaotic, they represent Bennu's slow, methodical processes, each grain a page in a story written over billions of years. Observers note these contrasts carefully, allowing the sample to speak softly rather than forcing interpretation. Hydrated minerals are detected subtly. The instruments confirm water-related compounds bound into the regolith. These materials are stable, yet they whisper of conditions long gone, of chemical reactions and aqueous processes that occurred on Bennu's parent body. Recognition of this chemistry does not cause excitement, only a gentle satisfaction. The asteroid has revealed what it has preserved so patiently. Carbon-rich compounds come into view next, dark and complex. These organics hold no living organisms, yet they carry the fingerprints of prebiotic chemistry. Observers lean closer, studying them slowly. Each molecule's arrangement is a faint story, a reminder that even in the quiet vacuum of space, intricate processes unfold, shaping worlds without urgency. The dust, full of both carbon and hydrated minerals, responds delicately to the controlled atmosphere. No particles fly freely, none are lost. The containment system has done its work, and now the scientists do theirs, maintaining calm and deliberate control. Every adjustment reinforces respect for the fragility and significance of what is held. Microscopic imaging reveals surfaces pocked by tiny indentations and scratches, scars from ancient impacts and slow chemical weathering. These marks are not chaotic, they are rhythmic, a soft record of Bennu's history written in stone. Researchers study them quietly, piecing together events that occurred billions of years ago without dramatic flair, relying on observation and patience alone. As analysis continues, the distribution of grains suggests gentle slopes and angles within the original site on Bennu. This information allows scientists to reconstruct the asteroid's surface in unprecedented detail. Each observation is measured, verified, and cross-referenced with data collected during approach and sampling. There is no haste, no need for immediate interpretation. Knowledge accumulates like the dust itself, slowly, layer by layer. Temperature and humidity controls ensure no degradation occurs during the examination. The environment remains stable, mimicking the conditions of space and protecting the subtle chemistry within. This careful preservation mirrors the patient methods used to approach Bennu in the first place, a continuity of respect and care. Even the sound of activity in the clean room is minimal. Voices are quiet, instruments hum softly, and footsteps are deliberate. The silence allows focus and reflection, a shared recognition of the weight and value of what is being observed. It is as if the room itself participates in the reverence, demanding slow and mindful attention. The volume of collected material offers unexpected opportunity. Scientists realize that multiple, redundant experiments can be conducted without exhausting the sample. This abundance encourages measured excitement but is tempered by the continued need for patience. Each grain is precious, yet the surplus allows for careful exploration over many years. Physical separation of small subsamples begins. Tweezers and delicate scoops move grains only under strict supervision and constant verification. Each fragment is logged, measured, and stored, never rushed, never mishandled. The process is exacting, almost ritualistic, reflecting the meticulous care taken during collection and transport. As analyses progress, the isotopic composition of the dust is revealed. Ratios of elements point to origins within the early solar system, to processes that predate Earth's formation. This information is recorded with calm attention, each ratio another quiet note in the symphony of ancient chemistry. Microscopy also reveals embedded mineral structures, crystalline formations that capture water and organics within their lattice. These structures survived eons of space travel and fiery atmospheric entry intact. The observers note this with measured awe, appreciating preservation rather than spectacle. Spectral analysis confirms the presence of subtle variations across particles. Differences in reflectivity and color hint at exposure to solar radiation, micrometeoroid impacts, and chemical evolution over billions of years. Each subtle shift is noted carefully, without rush, as a clue to the asteroid's long journey. Scanning electron microscopes reveal intricate microtextures, some resembling tiny ridges, some smooth surfaces, all telling quiet tales of Bennu's history. Each image is logged, cross-referenced, and interpreted with patience. The depth of detail invites extended observation rather than hurried conclusions. The sample's abundance allows for comparative studies across multiple particles. Subtle differences emerge, hinting at microenvironments on Bennu's surface. Observers analyze these carefully, letting patterns emerge gradually, respecting the timescale of formation rather than imposing immediate narratives. Organic chemistry is examined under controlled conditions. Amino acid precursors, simple hydrocarbons, and other prebiotic molecules are present, waiting for deliberate study. Each is analyzed slowly, with protocols ensuring preservation and accuracy. The work requires steadiness, as the ancient chemistry demands no less than careful observation. Samples are periodically resealed for long-term preservation. Each handling is deliberate, slow, and deliberate again, reinforcing the lesson of restraint. The materials are older than human civilization, and their careful treatment honors that vast timeline. Throughout the opening, the mission team reflects on the journey, the long travel, careful collection, and safe return. This reflection is quiet, measured, without excess. The gravity of success is absorbed softly, in rhythm with the slow reveal of ancient material. Cross-referencing with orbital data confirms that observed characteristics match expectations. Topography, mineral composition, and grain distribution align closely with remote sensing from Bennu. This validation brings quiet satisfaction, confirming that patience and precision yielded accurate understanding. The capsule itself becomes less central as the sample takes focus. Containers, seals, and tools are secondary now. The dust and grains are primary, and every action supports their stability and study. Reverence is maintained in motion and in stillness alike. As the day concludes, the sample rests again in containment, partially studied, partially waiting. Instruments are powered down or placed in monitoring mode, allowing quiet preservation. Observers step back, knowing that meaningful work has begun, but that time is an essential collaborator. The magnitude of what has been held and observed gradually settles over the team. The grains are small, ancient, and full of history. Their story unfolds slowly, paragraph by paragraph, image by image, compound by compound, inviting reflection rather than haste. And so, the opening of the capsule is neither a climax nor a conclusion. It is a breath held still, a careful invitation to study, understand, and respect. Ancient dust rests in its container, observers wait patiently, and the universe continues its quiet rotation as human curiosity moves gently, deliberately, and reverently into the next phase of discovery.